Good evening, everyone. I'm Kelly Wright. Thanks for joining us tonight. We'll get right to it. Here are my opening observations. Nelson Mandela stated, "We can change the world and make it a better place. It is in your hands to make a difference." And that's what we're going to talk about tonight, making a difference. We have people who will be on the show this evening to help us understand how each and every one of us on this planet can make a change, can make a difference, starting in our very own home. You've heard me state it on this program before, the greatness of a nation begins in the homes of its people. And during the midst of this COVID-19 pandemic that we're all facing, this is a crisis. It's a crisis that can challenge us as individuals. It's a crisis that can challenge us as a people, because we know that the COVID-19 has adversely impacted disproportionately African Americans and people of color. Well, tonight we want to talk about how we can even deal with that and overcome it as we have overcome everything by working together. And as Nelson Mandela stated, changing the world, making it a better place by understanding the power that we have and the faith that we have to make a difference. And those are my opening observations. So joining me now is a very good friend, Ambassador Dr. Clyde Rivers. And Ambassador, it's good of you to join us today. And let's get right to the heart of this. You created a corporation. I don't know how you define it, but I can tell you that it does everything that the name of your corporation states, and it's called I Change Nations. As an ambassador to so many different countries, how did you come up with this idea? Because this is a God-sized idea.
Kelly, so I'm honored to be on your show. You have always been a man of great integrity and excellence. And the first time I met you, you're just one of those people that has a heart for everyone. And I Changed Nations started when I was on a trip in Africa. And I believe the Spirit of God said, people change nations. And he says, every individual can change a nation. And he says, start I Change Nations, because every idea comes to a person, an individual, and I has created everything in the world. And that's why I started I Change Nations.
Wow. And as a result of that, how many nations have you been influencing to make a change right there in the homes of the people?
We've impacted 120 nations.
Wow.
And what I've done, Kelly, is I've established the culture of honor. I believe 7.8 billion people in the world are 7.8 billion people solutions. And I believe that what we have to do, we have to honor that's honorable. So as I travel through the world, I saw people doing great things. I'm going, why is no one recognizing these people that have done these great things? Mm-hmm. And then I thought about the concept of a modern day hero. Why do we only recognize people when they die? Yeah. Why don't we recognize people when they're alive? So I've created a culture of honor that honors people for doing things that actually line up with the image of God, and that can be any faith and any culture that's helping humanity.
Now, let's be quite clear. You've impacted the lives of world leaders as well, and celebrities and people who would be viewed as iconic. I'm thinking right now of Bono of U2 and other people of that ilk. Tell me how that came about with I Change Nations.
What it is I was in the African continent, and I saw all these great people, and I said, if they were in a Western country, it would be a different narrative. And what I did was my actual vision is this, Kelly. People don't understand one of the principles of the Word of God, and I try to live my life with a biblical worldview that includes everyone. There's a principle in James 2:8. It's the royal law says, if you love your neighbor like yourself, you live under liberty. If you mistreat your neighbor, you live under transgression.
Hmm.
So it's been my voice with I Change Nations is to tell world leaders that, hey, you have been entrusted with currency from God, people. And how you treat those people dictates the way you will be treated. And I tell people, I go, look, it's not a political infraction. It's a biblical infraction when you mistreat the currency of God. So to answer your question, I look for the people that are serving humanity with respect like God would.
That's fantastic. I need you to stay with me for another segment here, because I want to talk to you about how I Change Nations is addressing this COVID-19 global pandemic, because you are effectuating change in 120 countries. And of course, we know that the United States currently leads in the number of fatalities from this COVID-19. I'd like to get your take on how we can better address this and get ahead of this here in the United States, and helping other nations as well. I'm talking to Ambassador Dr. Clyde Rivers, founder of I Change Nations. We're coming back with much more after this. Welcome back to the program. So I've introduced to you Ambassador Dr. Clyde Rivers. He is a good friend that I've known for a number of years now. And we met through his organization, I Change Nations. And Doc, when I first heard that term, I Change Nations, it really gripped me and provoked me with something internally stating that, yeah, I guess I can change a nation. And so can my friends, so can my family, so can you, so can everybody watching this program, because we all have within us this innate God-given ability to use our talent for something valuable. And that's what I see you doing. Now, I want to ask you, with this COVID-19 pandemic, how is that impacting the mission of I Change Nations? And how do you see it impacting the United States of America?
What I see, Kelly, is this. I see this pandemic is the first of its kind to where the whole world has been shut down at one time. One of the concepts I tell people is however it got started, one person that contracted a virus and the whole world has shut down. So that means we have to look at mankind from a different lens now. Anywhere in the world, if one person gets sick now, it can affect us all. So what I was telling some people, I said, this has given sight to the blind. What we couldn't see in the past, now we have to look at, because I am my brother's keeper, whether I know it or not. One person that gets sick can now impact the entire globe. So that means we have to revisit everything about human health.
Wow. Wow. So if looking at it from that perspective and how one person can affect human health, one person gets coronavirus, another person is asymptomatic, and then we see the spread of it. And then we know that it's coming to the United States. And here on the Black News Channel, we started forewarning African Americans because of the pre-existing health disparities and inequities within communities of color. Be prepared, sound the alarm. This is not going to go well. We have to be prepared for this. And sad to say, it's proven to be true how we're leading in the numbers of fatalities, and how we're leading in the number of people who are not getting all that we need to get from the CARES package from the government, as well as the stimulus package. So in changing nations, how do we begin with changing the trajectory of what's going on within the African American community?
I think there's a concept, Kelly, I want to bring up. I believe the 3 M's are what rule the world now. A friend of mine, Dr. Nashawn Walker, said, Dr. Rivers, he says, mentorship, media, and music. He said this. He says, our kids are on their smartphones for 12 hours a day. And he said, that's their mentor, the phone. And he said, the content we bring through the phone is what mentors them. So we have to get the information into their ecosystem. We have to get it into technology that they're looking at for 12 hours a day about, wash your hands, be safe. We have to get it into the right machines. If we can get the correct content into their mentor, the phone, we can transform situations.
And then the music comes in. If we put the music out that's positive,
Yes.
and gives them inspiration and hope, then we can continue to find that there's a change for our nation, for our communities, and we can grow.
And you know what, Kelly, I so believe that. I believe truth delivers the same result everywhere.
Yeah.
So this is why, in my perspective, it's so important that we bring truth because truth delivers the same deliverable in any country. Truth does not value a race. Truth does not value a country. Truth just delivers what it is. So we have to inform people of the truth.
And here on the Black News Channel, we like to say that you get the truth illuminated. That means you're expanding it, you're broadening it, and you're zeroing in on it. Dr. Rivers, stay with me for one more segment because I want people to know who you are. We'll be back with more of Ambassador Dr. Clyde Rivers, the founder of I Change Nations, right after this. Welcome back to the program. So no doubt you're probably fascinated by hearing a name like I Change Nations. And hopefully after hearing and watching my friend Ambassador Dr. Clyde Rivers talk about I Change Nations, I'm hoping that you too are thinking, how can I change a nation? And certainly, Ambassador, we've seen people change nations like the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Nelson Mandela, and so many other people who have gone out to change the nations, Billy Graham, and the list goes on and on about people who have really tried to change nations by actively caring for people. I want to find out how you, sir, got to be where you are, because you have this unique concept of looking at people and saying there's greatness in you, and that greatness can be poured out. How did you get to this place?
Kelly, I grew up special education, Victorville, California. I rode a short bus to a special school, and I was supposed to be a statistic. And then I found Jesus, and he gave me a vision, and he said, this isn't a religious vision. He says, I have all the people in the world, and every individual has a contribution to bring to the world. And he says, with all the things that are not solved in the world, if we work together and we empower everyone, you have no idea if that person can solve your problem. So this is why whenever a life is lost, I'm saying a contribution is gone. So my heart is that every individual in the world has a God solution in them. So we have to keep our solutions alive, or we damage our world. Because what happens if the person that was killed was the one that had the idea, that had the wisdom from God to help cure the virus, to create a vaccination, but they're dead because no one valued them, because they weren't in the form that they thought. So when one person dies, we lose, as a world, we lose their contribution.
I just find it amazing that you were a special education student, and the stereotype would have been you would not amount to anything. Instead, you're recognized by kings and queens and presidents and even dictators for the work that you do. And I just find it remarkable that what appeared to be impossible became possible.
You know, if I can encourage everyone, God's system of value is different than the world's. The value God, I tell people, God has a different logic. His logic is your assignment for your life, and no one can hinder that when you follow God, because he's the one that opens the doors. He's the one that can close the doors. So the entire power grid is in God. And what he says man's gift makes room for him. So 7.8 billion gifts need to be unwrapped so we can see the world from God's view.
I like it. It sounds like a plan that would work, because sometimes when we follow the political view, we find out it doesn't work very well. Ambassador, it's a pleasure to talk to you. Now, are you still serving in the capacity as an ambassador now, or what's happening?
I'm the honorary ambassador for Burundi, Africa. Yes, I am, and they're about to have an election in the next day or two. So the president of the country is not running for power again. So he's turned the power over. So they have the election next week. So currently, I'm still the honorary ambassador.
Well, I'm grateful you could take time out of your busy schedule to talk to us, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you and to catch up with you. We haven't spoken in a while, but don't let this be your first and only time being on the program, because we need a whole lot of your wisdom and how we can say to everybody in the world, I change nations. And for the better, we might add. Ambassador, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kelly Wright.
We'll be back with more of the program after this. So welcome back to the program. So just yesterday, I had this wonderful guest on. She's so effervescent and so energetic and so faith-based and inspirational that I had to have her back on. And her name is Dr. Stacey N.C. Grant. And Stacey, I've got to read this again, because this is part of who you are. You quoted Gandhi stating that the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. And as a result of that, now I'm just gonna brag on you a little bit. You went on to receive numerous awards from the governmental agencies in the state of New York, as well as from numerous national and local organizations. And you're also a recipient of the 2016 Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award for volunteer service from then President Barack Obama. Go on with your bad self, girl. That's really good.
Thank you, Kelly. That was truly an honor. But the one thing was, I wasn't old enough to receive a lifetime achievement. I still think I'm 25. But I was very
to give a 25-year-old, and you really. But I mean, what an achievement! And to have President Barack Obama bestow that award on you. Then there's other accolades and everything that we can talk about. But what I like is your humility and your sense of purpose and the dignity with which you carry yourself, as you stated on yesterday's show, in basically in faith and in dedication to your legacy from your grandmother.
You know, I just want to thank you again, you know, being back here. I think I told you in the last show that you couldn't quit me. I'm just so glad that we're together, that we're 2 or 3 are assembled. But the beauty in talking about legacy is that you honor the people you love by how you live when they transition. And in this climate, we're seeing so many people transition. Some we feel prematurely because of the way this situation has been handled. But here's how I've been helping my friends. I've lost people in my circle, and you know, we lost an aunt on my husband's side. It wasn't due to the COVID, it was other complications and age. But I said the only way we can reconcile the sorrow, because we're human, and it stinks to lose somebody that you love in the physical. but their spirit never dies. And we honor them by how we live, how we celebrate the lessons, the memories, the joy that they brought into our lives when they were physically here on this planet. And that's how I was able to heal through my grandmother transitioning. So Faithpreneur Weekend allows me to celebrate her every year around her birthday. So this is our 3rd year, and the Rona done messed it up for us to get together in person, but we're still going to have the conference. It's just going to be virtually.
I also firmly believe, that this is a time we need to inspire each other, motivate each other, encourage each other to get out of the doldrums, to get out of the depression. If we've lost our jobs, and many of us have, then there's a way that we've got to learn how to retool, re-energize, rethink, and open up our minds and be able to grow and actually use these technological devices that we have as tools to greatness.
Absolutely. So I want to share something that I speak on and teach on quite a bit from 2 Kings, the widower and the oil, right? With Elisha, because there's 2 widowers.
For class now. That's good.
A little something that we can learn from the word, but it can transfer into where we are now, right? She lost her husband. Yeah. So that was her Rona, right? She lost her husband. That was her income. That was the way her and her child were able to function, and gone. And she looking at the prophet like, homie, how this gonna work? Like, who's going to take care of us? I don't have anything. And right now, a lot of people are looking at furlough, looking at job loss, looking at businesses closing, looking at death in their family, and they're saying, I don't have anything. And what did the prophet say? You know, what do you have? Like, we all have our oil, but we don't realize what that oil is. And that's what Destiny Designers allows us to do, is to be able to find and celebrate that oil so you can fill your vessel. Like right now, we can't be too proud. We can't do this recovery by ourselves. We need to be in collaborative relationships and situations that we can ask for help. And if that borrowing was all she needed to do for a period of time so she could fill the vessels, so that she could make the resources, so that she could live again, we're going to have to think differently about how we open up on where the pain points are. Let's not be too proud and suffer in silence, not just going after bailouts from the government or bailouts from loan companies. Let's open our mouth and talk to those around us who have skill sets, who have resources that can help you pivot. And together you can collectively fill your vessels so that you can recuperate post-COVID-19 with a new reality, because nothing will be the same after this. We know that. But you are going to be in position to show what it really looks like to have faith in spite of the fear around you.
But that's a lot of substance that I think the viewer at home can actually say, wow, how do I get in touch with her? Because I want what she has and what she's got. And it's really faith being applied to your entrepreneurship.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And because they're watching the Kelly Wright show and they're not quite sure if I'm sane, some people, the jury's still out, like, I don't know who this chick is that he brought on, but I'm going to pray for her. And just in case they want to know more.
I'm the wrong one for people to say, is she all right? Because I'm crazy for having you on.
But if they can see past that and pray for us, together. We'll be crazy together. And you can download the first chapter of the book for free. How about that? Just because you're action, despite the distraction. 7 life lessons on how to thrive and live your destiny now. So you can just download the first chapter, which is faith is an action word. And that first chapter you can get on actionbook.com. That's actionbook, BOOK.com. Just click on it, download that first chapter. Then you can check me out. See if I'm all the way wrapped tight up there. And if it inspires you to take action so that you can survive COVID-19.
Stay with us for one more break. I'm loving this. So you got to have you come back on to give us something to go away with. I'm talking to my good friend, Dr. Stacy N.C. Grant out of Queens, New York. So if you do think she's crazy, don't play. Don't play with people.
Don't play, because I grew up in the BX.
As Bronx, baby. We'll be back with much more of the show after this. So welcome back. So you might think we've lost our mind through this show, and that would be a good thing because we've lost our mind in the right direction. That means we're aiming high to be extraordinary and not deal with the ordinary. And no one can help us better than my guest, Dr. Stacey N.C. Grant, who is a faithpreneur, and she coined that phrase because she applies her faith to her entrepreneurial skills. And so I thought it would be good and wise to have someone like you, Dr. Stacey, on to infuse some positivity in the midst of this great sea of negativity because of the coronavirus. In your book, Action, Action, you know, and getting beyond the distraction of that coronavirus, we can actually take action steps to improve our lives. Even though we don't see the money coming in, we can go out and create revenue streams. And so how can we do that?
So I love that you're asking me this question because I'm going to give you some real live examples, Kelly, for all of us to digest. So I'll take my cousin. My cousin Larissa is a hairdresser. So when all of the laws came down and the executive orders about sheltering in and the closing down of businesses, barbershops, hairdressers, nail salons, gyms, we know what this situation was. And she has been one of my students, even though she's my cousin. She's enrolled in Destiny Designers University. She's taking classes. She called me up. She said, I need the Best Graduate Award. I'm like, what's going on? So she started making more wigs. She used to do wigs for a certain part of her clientele. Okay. But now she's starting to expand that. So it was a way for income to still come in. Use what you have. Her oil is her gift in being able to do hair and healthy hair. And she transitioned my hair from processed to natural, El Natural. So I hope I don't look like a chia pet. But anyway, she was able to then pivot her business into selling wigs. And now she's also doing custom masks because there was a need in the market. Entrepreneurs fill needs in the marketplace. Second example. My husband heard a story on one of the radio shows about a demolition company. They can't demo anything in the midst of a Rona. So he had to figure out a way to keep people on payroll. So he had a meeting, brought them together and said, look, we're going to do cleaning services for businesses. Who's willing to stay? Some people were like, no, deuces. I didn't sign up for cleaning. I signed up for demo. But at least he gave them an option and his business is able to stay open. Another company, I was on a show a couple of days ago, and this woman has a transportation company that works with the airports and some high-level executives. We get a chance to interact because of the work I do for the JFK redevelopment program in New York City. No longer can she operate while airlines are losing funding, things are paused, people aren't traveling. So what did she do? She turned her transportation company into a food service where she's delivering Meals on Wheels. So that was a pivot. But you can't pivot if you're panicked. We talked about that on the other show, right? And that is what Linda Clemens shared. That's such an important part. If you can sit still and listen to God's voice, hear what he's sharing with you, showing you that your oil is still present, even in the midst of what we see going on. Fill your vessels and go sell it so that you can survive this coronavirus nightmare, because that's what it is.
Dr. Stacey N.C. Grant, and where can we get in touch with you? Because I'm sure there's some viewers who want to bottle up what you have and say, I need some of that.
Well, I love it. Well, when they get the free gift at actionactionbook.com, all of our social media handles are there. If they want to enroll in a class at Destiny Designers University, it's Destiny Designers with an S, university.com. I'm on all social media. You can do a search for Destiny Design U on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of them. It's the young people because, Kelly, I can't keep up with all this social media stuff, but I'm there. And you can also find me by my name, Dr. Stacey N.C. Grant, on Facebook. I'm the only Dr. Stacey N.C. Grant. And you have to know me long enough, audience, to know what the N.C. stands for. Only my brother, Kelly, will know.
What does the N.C. stand for?
If I tell you, let me stop. It's my maiden initial and my middle initial. So my new brother Kelly will know what it stands for, but I didn't want to hyphenate. As you can see, I'm like an individual. Like I didn't want to hyphenate like everybody else. So I decided to have two initials, and that makes me me. And my husband was fine with it. He prays every day, like, Lord, what I do? 24 years in, and I still like him.
And you still like him. Now that is the secret to success. You still
Absolutely.
like him. And he must be loving you and liking every bit of it.
He shakes his head like you, Kelly, right now. That's him just about 24 hours a day. Like, what did I get myself into? Even my kids, they're threatening to write a tell-all book about being the children of Dr. Stacey's Secret.
You are wonderfully insane, inspirationally insane, because you keep doing the positive things over and over and over again. And you know what? There's a better ending.
Amen. Amen. Look, I receive it, Lord. You heard your servant. I receive it.
You're welcome on this program anytime, my friend.
Oh, well, it's a pleasure. I'm so excited to be here with you. And truly, as I said in the previous show, thank you for creating a space for conversations that really matter, for information that can be transformational, and just introducing your audience to different guests, even the special ones like me.
God bless you as well, and welcome to the program anytime. You're a friend of the show. And the little sister you're talking about is Melanie Miller, marketing director extraordinaire, and a friend of mine for many years. So God bless you, and keep on keeping on with the destiny and with the action, with the faithpreneur. We're here for you to support you. This platform is part yours, so you're always welcome.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it. And look, Kelly, we're going to have to do a segment of your show at my Faithpreneur Weekend 2020.
Oh, you got it. You got it.
All right. We'll talk to Melanie.
With you now. I'll break out in some songs. I'll definitely be there. All right. So we're coming back with a lot more on the show. Don't go anywhere. You might want to come back and hear Stacey again, Dr. Stacey, but we're going to bring her back on. Trust me. All right. Back with more of the show after this. Welcome back to the program. I'd like to introduce to you someone who's known by a lot of NFL fans, and he played for the Washington Redskins, which is still my favorite team. He is Ken Harvey, and he's a 4-time NFL Pro Bowler and 2-time Hall of Fame nominee. But he has so much talent beyond the skills of football. Ken, thanks for being on the program today.
You're quite welcome. Thank you for having me on the program.
Listen, man, what are you doing now? Because you're doing so much, even working with Congress. Tell me about that first.
Well, so and we're debating on what's going to happen with this, but I'm a co-captain with this congressional football game. And so what happened was a long time ago, a couple of Capitol Hill police officers were killed on the line of duty. And some of the members decided that let's try to raise some money to help send their families, the kids, to go to college. It was a while back, but they ultimately, over time, they invited a guy named John Booty who's a former football player, to be a co-captain, the captain. And then he invited me. And so for the last 10 years, we've been coaching these 30 or 35 Congress members to play against the Capitol Hill police in a game of flag football. And to make it kind of even, we have former players playing on the side of the Capitol, on the Congress members, to try to balance it out a little bit.
That's good, man. I just finished talking to an ambassador, Dr. Clyde Rivers, ambassador to Burundi, and he also created I Change Nations, and he's of the opinion that each and every one of us on this planet have the ability to change who we are and effectuate a positive change in our community. I know that's in your DNA because you talk about it all the time. So tell me about this podcast that you're doing and some of the guests that you're going to have on.
Sure. So the podcast is kind of in line with what you just talked about. It's called What's in Your Hands. And the reason behind the name is that in the book, in the Bible, in Exodus 4:2, God talks to Moses and he says, "What's in your hand?" And Moses says, "The staff." And so from that, I was reading, and at a time in my life, I'm like, God, what am I supposed to be doing myself? And he kind of pointed me to that direction. And so once I read, he's like, now, Ken, what's in your hands? And so from that, I started looking at all these things and all these blessings and all the things that I have instead of what I don't have, and said, what can I do with them? And so the first thing I did was I had a children's book that I had written 21 years ago with Terry Crews as the author, as the illustrator. And so, I was like, man, it's been sitting there for 21 years. Let me do something with it. Called up Terry. greatest guy in the world. Like, oh my God, let's do this. But if we do it, let's do it 100%. I'll take care of everything. I'll pay for everything. But let's make it really nice. And then another guy called out of nowhere, a friend of mine, said, I'm starting this augmented reality company. And so I thought, let's put the augmented reality with the book and kind of combine technology and reading for kids, for young people. And so all of a sudden, that was there. And so the next step now has been a podcast with that title, so that I can talk to guests and just talk to people in general about business, about life, about issues or things that, are prevalent to me that have been part of my life. And we'll just have a conversation and hopefully, kind of see what happens. So my first guest, of course, was Terry Crews.
Mm-hmm.
As a friend, we've been friends for, since 94. It's great to hear his story, but what's even better is to hear the story that people don't hear. They think you automatically became successful, that you automatically, because of your charms or whatever, it just happened. And he struggled for a little bit. And, I wanted to kind of dwell in the part about his struggle and how did he come out of it mentally to get to the next level.
Wow, Ken, that's fantastic. And the name of the podcast again is called?
What's in Your Hands?
All right. Thanks so much, Ken Harvey. We're coming back with more of the show after this. Welcome back to the program. So as you know, by watching this program, I'm all about uplifting people, especially our young African-American males who are tagged with a moniker that should never be. I believe that we are young, gifted, and Black, and therefore we should keep lifting that up as being the image that we all have to bear up to. So two gentlemen here now are out in the San Francisco area, in particular the Bayview area, which is a beautiful place if you've ever been there, and I have. I love it. I love the activity there. And the food, Randy and Daniel, is just off the chain good all throughout San Francisco. But let's narrow down to what the Urban Ed Academy is doing. I'm talking to Randy Suraguchi, who is the executive director, and Daniel Rumley, who is the deputy director. Gentlemen, first, I want to thank both of you for pouring into the lives of our young brothers out there, because it's so important that people who look like us work together to keep us lifted up. So I'll begin with you, Randy, in terms of the vision and what you're seeking to accomplish.
Thank you for having us, Kelly. Thank you for having this platform. This level of discourse is needed, particularly in this time. And Urban Ed Academy is a community-based organization in the Bayview, born in the Bayview in 2010. And we had a flagship program through a Saturday Academy where we introduced STEM experiences to young boys of color, young Black boys in particular, in that neighborhood, by matching them with men that look like them. And this fantastic combination of mentorship and exposure through education had a lot of success before I joined in 2016 as the executive director. And so this vision that was created of having an image available for a student in the learning process, we believe that every child deserves to see themselves in the classroom. In order to get that done on a Saturday takes an incredible lift, and yet we were able to do it very consistently for over 1,000 students. For us, though, that was not enough. If we were getting this done on a Saturday, what was it looking like for students during the school year, during the school week? And in gradually making some adjustments to our model and taking advantage of opportunities we were given, we were able to get to a place where we are today, where that same match of putting a man of color in front of a male student of color on Saturdays, we wanted to make available during the week through a teacher recruitment and teacher housing strategy called Man the Bay. Our vision is to have that available for every elementary school in the city. And in order to do that, we're on a mission to bring 100 men into the city and house them and support them so that we can make that possible.
That's actually a phenomenal vision, and it makes practical sense. Daniel, how do you achieve that goal?
Randy said it very plainly. It's a lot of work. But I think being clear on what it is that we want to achieve allows us to be flexible in how we get there. But what we've set out for is a very kind of simple approach, even though each silo gets really dense. The first thing is housing. It's hard to get a person of color to live in the most expensive housing market in the world just off of a college degree and a recruitment stipend. It doesn't work that way. And so that's the first thing, being able to make sure that we've got community partners that are helping us house the gentlemen that we bring into the fellowship. The second part is I think probably what gets the most kind of eyes put on it, because nobody really gets the housing. They're like, y'all are crazy for even trying that. But, you know, Randy leads that work and we're getting it done. So that happens. But the second piece is the first year of the program, which is a lot of wraparound services for their maturation, is not only men and teachers and actual professional teachers with credentials, but just them understanding their identity, their place in the community, that leadership that comes along with it. That year really kind of steeps them in the understanding of why they're needed. And then the third kind of leg to the stool is our community partners. So the same schools that we were able to execute our Saturday school vision in is the same community that we're now a direct service provider, 5 days a week after school. And our guys are getting those repetitions, as we call it, those reps, and being in front of students during that first year of training. So that's pretty much the package, if you will: housing, a lot of training, and good, strong community partnerships. But yeah,
well, look, it's fantastic. I want to follow the program. Keep me abreast of what you're doing and update it, because anytime we have an opportunity to see, you know, programs like this for us and by us to lift us up, that is always so good and reassuring that we have a future and a hope. So Randy Saragucci and Daniel Rumley of Urban Ed Academy out there in the Bayview area of San Francisco, thank you for being on the program today. God bless you.
Thank you for having me.
Take care, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. You're watching The Kelly Wright Show. We'll be back with much more after the break. Welcome back to the program. And now for my final word, let me quote to you something that Drake put out. He said, "Count your blessings, not your problems." If we take heed to that, that is something that we can continually do as we strive to make it through COVID-19 and as we struggle to overcome anything that stands in our way. Count your blessings, not your problems. Hopefully you've been righted, ignited, and united to keep spreading love, freedom, and peace. Good night.